Hello and welcome to Biology for the Future, a programme from the Royal Society of Biology and ITN Productions. 2020 marks the 10th anniversary of the RSB, and as we look forward, the world is still facing a number of global challenges, including the ongoing pandemic. The bioscience sector is constantly working to tackle this challenge, and indeed many other global and local ones head-on. Just as the last decade brought great change, so too will the next 10 years. And today's programme, Biology for the Future, will look at people and organisations driving it. "2020 is a landmark year for the Royal Society of Biology, with the year marking its 10th anniversary. Sharon Thomas spoke to RSB Chief Executive Dr. Mark Downes about the importance of biology in society today and what's on the horizon for the next decade and beyond.
Dr. Mark Downes, many thanks for joining us. What would you suggest as some of the key challenges currently facing the global community?
There are a huge number I could probably point to, but I think there are probably three which I'd focus in on. Climate change and biodiversity loss, I think, probably has to be the biggest challenge facing us at the moment. There are 1 million species globally that are facing extinction, over 40% of our amphibians, 33% of our coral reefs. It's a real challenge. And on the back of that, we have an impact of human use of land and sea, which has other implications, not least of which reflects the burden of disease we face. And we've seen a classic example of that recently with the COVID pandemic. And there will undoubtedly be further infectious disease outbreaks in the future, because as we change the use of land and sea, the biodiversity changes. And for example, on land, the animals that might not normally be there would move in, typically smaller animals, which are vectors for disease. So we can expect that sort of thing to continue in the future. So climate change and the burden of disease. And then finally, the way in which we treat those sorts of diseases. And for infectious diseases, bacterial diseases in particular, and parasitic diseases, antimicrobial resistance is a massive challenge. It's a problem for any medical professional trying to treat someone around the world now, that they may have to give more than one drug for a bacterial parasitic infection because the first one may prove to have resistance in the patient. So those three things, I think, are some of the biggest challenges we face as a society over the next 10 to 20 years.
And how would you say the biosciences can help in addressing some of those challenges you've outlined there?
I think it's a rapidly changing environment, and what we've seen with the current pandemic is that bioscience and health professionals have really stepped up to accelerate the pace of change. The research has been put into practice very quickly, and going forward we need to make sure that we build on that, we learn the lessons of how to continue to do that in other sectors. And when we look at individuals who have infections and how they can be treated, it's how we focus medical interventions in other ways. And personalised medicine, precision medicine, targeting the treatment to the individual person is really important. And the biosciences has a key role in doing that, in understanding how we can bring together things like artificial intelligence, the use of data, application of new diagnostic techniques to treat people in a more precise way. And then finally, I think I'd pick on international collaboration, where bioscientists and policy advisors from around the world gather together in forums such as the United Nations to make sure we have the frameworks which can address these problems.
So, Mark, what else does the bioscience sector need to do to meet those challenges head on?
I think it needs to, first of all, ensure that we collaborate. Science is an international endeavour, and bioscience is no exception. Scientists try to address problems, and the way they address those problems is by bringing disciplines together, by bringing the skills together, by bringing the diversity of view together to enable a solution to be found. So it's got a lot to do with bioscience, but it's also got a lot to do with the political framework in which bioscience operates. And I think it's beholden on the bioscience community to make sure that we engage with politicians, the media, to provide them with the information they need in order to make the right decisions for all of us.
So you at the RSB have just celebrated your 10th anniversary. Congratulations. What hopes do you have now for the next 10 years?
I want to see us engage even more with members of the public to make sure that people understand the value of the biosciences, why it's relevant to them, why it's relevant to the challenges we face in the world. But I also want to make sure we can continue to support our membership through professional development to make sure that from the beginning to the end of their career, they have support in whatever type of role they're performing. I also want to make sure that our policy engagement grows. We have a policy resource library already with 800 contributions in it, showing the way in which we contribute to policy development. That needs to grow and expand and take in more organisations. We will be growing our accreditation of bioscience degrees. We currently cover more than 50% of UK universities and are spreading out internationally. That needs to be 75% over the next 10 years, because that's the way in which we can drive change in the education system through university teaching, through the 5 to 19 education system, to make sure that the bioscience graduates of the future have the skills which will help them with their employment to contribute to the challenges which I'm sure we'll continue to face.
OK, Dr. Mark Downes, good luck in your endeavours. And many thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The pinnacle of the Royal Society of Biology's 10th year anniversary celebrations was their gala dinner at the start of March. Held at the Science Museum in London, the evening was a celebration of the achievements of the RSB over the past decade. Amongst the attendees was RSB Honorary Fellow Sir David Attenborough, who received a Lifetime Achievement Award and spoke on the importance of biologists now and for the future.
The Royal Society of Biology celebrates its 10th anniversary this year, and to mark the occasion, the Society hosted a glittering gala dinner at London's Science Museum.
This event is a celebration. As an organisation, we've been around now for 10 years in our current structure. It's not long in some ways, but an awful lot has happened. We have a history that goes back 70 years to our two founding bodies who came together. And it's an opportunity to celebrate what's happened, not just for the organisation, but also for bioscience, because there's been so much innovation, so much application and impact of biology over the last 10 years that we want to celebrate that as well as what we've been doing to try and support it.
Well, it started as a merger between two organisations, the Institute of Biology and the Biosciences Federation, with a modest but good membership. Since then, the membership's grown, the profile's grown, the activities have grown, and of course, it's become the Royal Society of Biology.
With a membership of over 18,000 individuals and more than 100 member organisations, the RSB is at the forefront of inspiring and championing the best of life sciences. RSB President Professor Dame Julia Goodfellow awarded the President's Medal to the Society's two former presidents for their distinguished support and outstanding achievement in science. The professors swapped handshakes for a spontaneous, hands-free social distancing alternative. Guest of honour Sir David Attenborough was awarded the Society's inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award.
So this award that comes from you will hold a very special place of honour in my house, because I do truly believe that biologists have a great responsibility, that you can see the future clearer than most people, and that many of you are concerned with passing on that understanding to the next generation. I commend you for what you do. I commend you for your concern about the truth of the natural world and the way it works. And I thank you very much for this. Thank you.
One thing I really want to focus on is getting people excited about science and the amazing careers it has to offer. I remember in an interview you did once, Sir David, where someone asked you whether when you developed your passion for nature, and you replied, "When did you lose yours?"
We have Nobel Prize winners here tonight. We are at the forefront of so many of the leading research endeavours, from the genome to agricultural applications, and that is part of the long tradition of British excellence in science and biology in particular.
You know, when you look at the major challenges which face society at the moment, almost all of them have biology at their heart, whether that's antimicrobial resistance, whether it's climate change, whether it's food security, whether it's the burden of disease. And so when I look to the future, I think about the way in which bioscientists and biology can underpin those areas of activity.
From the House of Commons to the Royal Society of Biology, happy anniversary.
To the Royal Society of Biology, happy 10th anniversary. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Royal Society of Biology, wishing you the happiest of anniversaries.
Happy anniversary, Royal Society of Biology.
As scientists worldwide race to develop an effective coronavirus vaccine, research has revealed that the virus invades cells through spike proteins, which have specific characteristics that are important to understand. Saville reports from Imperial College London, where vital research looking at these spike proteins may unlock the door to improving testing and finding a successful vaccine.
At Imperial College London, one of the largest and most research-active life sciences departments in the UK, multiple disciplines are addressing one of the most pressing real-world problems, the COVID-19 pandemic. Studying each level, from molecules to ecosystems, the work here could lead to better diagnostics and a vaccine. Structural biologist Professor Stuart Haslam is investigating the sugar coatings on spike proteins on the surface of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes the disease COVID-19. He says the sugar coating, or glycoprotein, is a recognition molecule that binds to receptors on the human cell.
Our research is showing that these sugar molecules on the virus and on the host molecule come into very close proximity. So it might be that there are interactions going on between the sugar molecules, and that variations in the sugar molecules on both the virus and the host can change the strength of the interaction and potentially the infectivity. One of the functions of these sugars from the virus perspective is it's actually acting as a protective shield on the important functional spike protein. So by having an outer layer of sugar around the functional protein, it's masking itself from our immune system, allowing it to infect our host cells.
Coronavirus-derived samples are loaded into an analytical tool called a mass spectrometer, which characterises the structure of their molecules, helping understanding of their function. Dr. Anja Krueger, who worked on a pig virus vaccine in Thailand in a UK-sponsored partnership, says the role of glycans, carbohydrate-based oligomers, could be crucial.
We are really learning something about the diversity of glycans on the spike glycoprotein, for example. And the diversity can make a difference in terms of recognition by the immune system. For example, monoclonal antibodies may bind differently to the virus or to the spike protein due to the fact that glycans could cover also the underlying amino acids. We would really try to see if we can use this information to develop a vaccine.
From lab work to field work, here at the Department of Life Sciences campus in Berkshire, these huge mesocosms, or outdoor experimental systems, are testing just how long synthetic copies of the SARS-CoV-2 RNA can survive in various conditions. Will it remain in the environment around us? Each tank has a different temperature and level of pollution. The teams track how quickly the RNA of the virus degrades to model its persistence in natural environments. They're also testing samples of sewage to assess the extent of the virus in local populations and checking animal droppings.
One of the things that we're a little bit worried about is that if SARS-CoV-2 ends up in wildlife populations, then it might actually be able to transfer back to humans at a later stage, especially through organisms like bats, who actually live in roofs of houses, and so their locality to humans is actually quite close.
At the Silwood Park campus, extensive microbial research facilities bring together a range of expertise.
Here in-house, we're less of a department really, and more of a multidisciplinary team. We have experts in genetic and molecular techniques, ecosystem level manipulations, experimental designs, big data analysis and theory. Evolutionary biology gives us a context to how every species interacts with every other one and its environment, including viruses, so that we can be prepared and we can mitigate and proactively stop things like this happening again in the future.
That's the wider challenge underlying the bioscience research at Imperial College London, working to protect humankind from existential threats in the world around us.
In order to get the most accurate weather forecasting and warning of severe weather events, there are spacecraft constantly monitoring our weather systems. We went to EUMETSAT, Europe's meteorological satellite agency, to find out about 2 new satellite systems that will bring a new era in weather forecasting.
In a world of volatile weather patterns and an ever-changing climate, lives and livelihoods depend on accurate weather forecasts. From its headquarters in Darmstadt, Germany, Europe's meteorological satellite agency, EUMETSAT, is preparing to deploy the most innovative meteorological satellite systems ever developed. Ensuring forecasts are accurate is a monumental challenge. Satellite data is the key component required by meteorologists, and making use of that very latest technology available is vital.
EUMETSAT will bring 2 new satellite systems in orbit. One is the Polar Orbiter that will enhance already proven technology and help us to provide much better weather forecasts. And the geostationary satellite, the new METEOSAT 3rd generation, is especially for nowcasting and warning operations really a revolution. We will be able to cover the whole convection cycle from the very beginning, when there's still blue sky, until the major part of the thunderstorm when there's already the severe weather going on.
This is the 2nd generation satellite that EUMETSAT is currently using to detect severe weather events. It is a 1-to-1 model, and there are currently 4 of them in orbit. They collect images of Europe every 5 minutes and every 15 minutes of both Europe and Africa. But all that will change in 2023 when EUMETSAT will deploy 2 new satellite systems, bringing a new era in weather forecasting.
It's really exciting to be working here. We're preparing for the next generation systems because we live in a world where the climate is changing and the weather patterns are changing together with it. And for these reasons, the need for more information about our planet is really acute. And the technology behind this instrument is so advanced. We have one instrument that is mounted on METEOSAT 3rd generation, which is a resolution of only 1 kilometer. So from 36,000 kilometers in space, it can take an image of only 1 kilometer.
In practice, this means the satellite's instruments will be able to detect severe weather events such as storms far more accurately and more quickly than ever before.
The 3rd generation of METEOSAT will give an image of Europe and Africa in every 10 minutes. The previous generation was 50 minutes, the 1st generation before that was every 30 minutes. That means you have 3 times as much information, assuming that it's the same quality of data as you got from the beginning, but actually we're getting far more. One of these images is giving us far more information than before.
At the same time, EUMETSAT is preparing for the 2nd generation of its polar orbiting system. The next generation on these satellites, which orbit much closer to Earth's surface, will provide more accurate, high-resolution data, as well as all new information on a global scale necessary for forecasting from 12 hours to 10 days in advance. Of course, such cutting-edge technology doesn't come cheap.
It's a collaboration between 30 different member states. Individually, a programme like EPS second generation, which costs about €3.5 billion to develop, would be almost impossible for most of these countries. But what we can do with EUMETSAT is we can offer a mechanism for them to pool their resources, pool their expertise, to share in the costs of developing these systems.
The EPS second generation system is expected to bring a 20-to-1 return on investment for EUMETSAT's member states. Weather forecasting already contributes €61 billion a year to the EU's economy, and the higher levels of accuracy made possible by EUMETSAT's next generation systems will ensure that return grows.
Medical advancement continues to improve health outcomes in both human and veterinary medicine. Humanimal Trust is working to achieve better results through collaboration and research to benefit both humans and animals. Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Ben Marshall and Dr. Tracy King. Welcome to you both. Dr. Marshall, if I can start with you first of all, tell us a bit more about the Humanimal Trust.
The Humanimal Trust drives collaborations between vets and doctors and researchers. And this will hopefully benefit both animals and humans from sustainable advances in research and equal medical progress without the loss of an animal's life.
And how can medical collaboration benefit from one medicine?
The current pandemic of COVID-19 has raised calls from the academic and scientific communities for the need for an interdisciplinary approach to tackle difficult diseases and diagnose and manage those diseases successfully. This is one of the fundamental principles of One Medicine. Vets often look to the human medical world for inspiration, but doctors like myself can also benefit from methods used in the veterinary medicine world. Progress in regenerative medicine and developments in the veterinary world has helped racehorses suffering from tendon diseases, and we're beginning to see the advent of trials in the human world which hopefully will equally benefit humans suffering from tendon diseases.
Dr. Marshall, thank you. Dr. King, if I can come to you now, tell us a bit more about how important the overlap is between human and animal health.
It's very important, given that many of the health challenges that we face today overlap human and animal health. For many of these challenges that we face, there is no single answer, and they can't be solved directly by targeting just humans or animals.
And how can people find out more information about challenges and support?
So we believe that strengthening the links between both the medical and veterinary professions and also the wider scientific disciplines is absolutely vital. And for this reason, we created a real-time format and forum called the Humanimal Hub. And the Humanimal Hub is a platform which brings together doctors, vets and researchers, and it gives them opportunities to discuss how a one medicine approach can help with the challenges that we face in healthcare today.
Doctor, how can data be utilised to address current challenges?
To address current challenges, we need approaches which promote greater cross-disciplinary collaborations and a two-way exchange of data. By doing so, then we could make advances which would benefit both humans and animals. And this cross-fertilisation of data between clinical human and veterinary medicine will enable and facilitate processes to be put in place that would really provide a powerful evidence base for a one medicine approach. We are committed to the 3 R's, so reduce, refine, replace. But we also believe that there is a 4th R, that of reciprocity. Animals have helped to shape modern medicine, and they have contributed to major significant scientific advances, and yet they have not been the beneficiaries. It's possible that we can close this gap with a one medicine approach and facilitate tangible and reciprocal benefits for both humans and animals.
Dr. King and Dr. Marshall, thank you both very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Edinburgh has long been associated with the life sciences, from Charles Darwin, who studied medicine at the university, to modern-day figures like Sir Ian Wilmot, who led the team responsible for cloning Dolly the sheep. NuCana is part of a thriving biotechnology scene in the city and is drawing on local and international talent to transform chemotherapies and pioneer a new era in cancer treatment. Duncan Golestani reports.
At an Oxford University hospital, doctors are studying new medicines that aim to dramatically improve the treatment of patients with cancer. They've been developed by NuCana, an innovative biotech company headquartered 350 miles away in Edinburgh, who are working with cancer researchers from around the world. NuCana has transformed some of the most widely used cancer drugs to overcome cancer cell resistance mechanisms and reduce their side effects.
Chemotherapy remains the backbone of treatment for patients with cancer, but it doesn't work in a high proportion of patients, and it can also be quite toxic. So NuCana is aiming to change that paradigm and develop more effective and safer medicines.
There are really three key drawbacks that limit the effectiveness of chemotherapy. They're often broken down before they even get near a cancer cell. Once they're near that cell, they have to be transported inside. And then once they're inside the cancer cell, they then have to be activated. So PROTIDES have been specifically designed to overcome these limitations of breakdown, transport and activation.
Cancer as a disease touches all of us. As a problem, it will only grow. In 2018, there were 18 million new cases around the world. By 2040, that will grow to 30 million. So the need for better medicines has never been greater. Professor Sarah Blagden is at the forefront of the hunt for new cancer medicines. Her team has run clinical trials for 3 of NuCana's new medicines called PROTIDES and treated over 150 patients so far.
So we're not seeing the normal chemotherapy type toxicities that you expect, like hair loss. We don't see that at all. But what we are seeing is we're able to deliver the drug at much higher concentrations actually within the cancer itself. And that for us is really intriguing.
Cheryl Walsh had run out of treatment options after the discovery of metastatic melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer, in December 2016. Treatment with one of NuCana's PROTIDES in a clinical trial has not only extended her life, but it has also improved her quality of life. She no longer has to have fluid drained from her lungs every week and feels much stronger.
It's made a lot of difference. It's before I was started taking this, I couldn't walk far at all, losing breath, just totally really. And now I obviously still can't walk lots, but I'm a lot better than I was.
It gives us hope as well as results, and that is one of the things that keeps us going.
I think it's very exciting. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. I think it really is, because it's very specifically addressing problems that we know really matter in real life and saying, how do we solve these problems using whatever technologies, and no matter how modern that technology is, saying if we need that technology, we're going to bring it on board to address the problem.
Professor Harrison is joined by hundreds of other scientists and doctors working with NuCana to further understand the unique properties of PROTIDES. NuCana floated on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange in September 2017 and continues to grow rapidly.
NuCana's future is extremely bright. We have 3 drugs in clinical development right now, each one looking very promising, with the ability to really change the outcome, the survival outcome for patients, as well as make their lives more comfortable.
The market for DNA sequencing has expanded to such an extent that it's forecasted to be worth $24 billion by 2023. This genomic gold rush has seen the emergence of companies such as Derbyshire-based RevoluGen, which promises to dig out longer and purer DNA fragments from cells, giving researchers clearer information about how to read the building instructions written within. Donna Bernard has this report.
A major breakthrough in biotechnology has taken place here at RevoluGen's Derby headquarters. Its FireMonkey product allows the mining of DNA with more of it left intact. This simple-looking chemistry kit works with standard lab equipment to extract long fragments of DNA within an hour.
We're very excited because RevoluGen sits at the entry point of the genomic gold rush, as all DNA needs to be extracted from the cells before any sequencing is done, regardless of which sequencing platform is being used.
DNA is easily identifiable from other cell matter by its size and weight. The classic way of extracting it is simply to spin it.
The trouble is that inevitably you put stress on it and you break it. And what RevoluGen has done is to have discovered a chemistry which holds the molecule together while you spin it.
The real difference with FireMonkey is that it manages to get a different result, even though it uses the same techniques as the competition.
Georgios came up with a way of extracting it more gently, so that he doesn't break it up so badly, still gets it out, doesn't break it up as badly. So it's a bit like a spade digging out the DNA from the cell. It's just our spade's a bit bigger than the spades that everybody else has.
FireMonkey is the world's first spin column high molecular weight DNA extraction kit. Essentially takes a very old process, that of spinning a sample through a column, to the next level.
The global DNA sequencing market is expected to grow to $25 billion by 2025. Particularly because of its vital role in developing treatment tailored to the individual. More accurate sequencing may also help tackle the growing resistance to antibiotics.
If you use sequencing, you can sequence the bacteria and their plasmid gene constructs, and you can spot the genes that give you resistance to various antibiotics. Once you've spotted them, then you can choose the right antibiotic that isn't one of their resistant strains.
It is becoming a very large market indeed. DNA is the software by which our bodies work. So understanding that software is going to enable us to be able to deal with ourselves, make ourselves well in a way that has never been possible in the past.
So the next step for FireMonkey is that we're working on automation. We're doing that with our partner Tecan and Agliant. So we've developed a 96-well plate, which means that the workload can be increased dramatically for laboratories.
Gemma Langridge is the group leader at the Quadram Institute, which hopes further development of FireMonkey will give them the means to test many more samples.
The automation that's coming from RevoluGen, what we're looking for is to be able to prep hundreds of strains at a time. And then, the scope for our research then increases quite dramatically that way.
It's just the start of this genomics gold rush, but experts believe that eventually every species and everybody will probably be sequenced.
Oh, I believe eventually every species will be sequenced, simply because there is an unknown amount of genes that could have useful properties that exist in the world, that it's another frontier. We've just got to explore it.
In the future, we will treat ourselves as an individual. The idea of a blockbuster drug, which is spread out all over the world and everyone uses, will become irrelevant.
The spread of COVID-19 has disrupted a number of sectors, and for many scientists, the direction of their work has altered significantly. We explore how scientists have redirected their efforts to help tackle the coronavirus pandemic through diagnostics, vaccine development, and more.
The world has changed. It was only in January that a new coronavirus was first reported by the media. It quickly engulfed the world. COVID-19 is a global fight, and at the forefront of the battle is the biosciences community. In April, the World Health Organization launched a worldwide collaboration to speed up the development and funding of tests, treatments and vaccines. Developing a vaccine usually takes years, but researchers at the University of Oxford worked tirelessly to reach phase 3 trials in September. And they also discovered that dexamethasone, a cheap and widely available drug, can significantly cut the risk of death for patients on ventilators and oxygen. Many are refocusing their work. The world-renowned Francis Crick Institute rapidly transformed its labs into testing facilities. They developed a COVID-19 blood test with higher levels of accuracy than any other test, all the while collaborating and sharing their advancements to help save lives. The spike proteins that allow the virus to infect cells are being studied by Imperial College London, and its researchers are testing just how long the virus remains in the natural environment. The college's COVID-19 response team uses its research to develop tools to help others. The pandemic has transformed research. The Royal Society of Biology found in a survey that a quarter of those who responded had switched their work to COVID-19. 12% had sought additional funding for related projects. They felt the sector's response was positive. As for the RSB's international members, 91% of respondents thought UK bioscience went above and beyond. Throughout the pandemic, the RSB has supported bioscientists with its COVID-19 bulletin sent to 20,000 people fortnightly. And online, they provide experts in the field a platform to share their knowledge, all the while working to shape education and science policy. Bioscientists across the world are at the forefront of the scientific response to answer some of the most urgent questions of our times. They are working at an unprecedented pace. As of September 2020, there are more than 169 COVID-19 vaccines in development, with 26 already undergoing human trials. It's a long journey, but the RSB is there to ensure the bioscience community is equipped to build a brighter future for all.
Thank you for watching Biology for the Future. We hope you enjoyed the programme. All of our interviews and reports are available on the Royal Society of Biology's website. The details are on the screen now. From me and the team here, thank you for watching. Goodbye.